Did you ever stand at the foot of their bed, around their bed, in their room, watch them sleep with a knife in your hand?
No, never.
Did you ever want to stab them?
No.
Did you ever make plans to stab them?
No. If I ever went in the room, it was to wake them up because I was either scared of a nightmare or something like that. But I never went in their room. I didn't.
But is there any reason that they would have like nanny cam footage, hidden camera footage of you standing at the end of the bed with a knife in your hand?
No.
If they had it, they would have produced it, right?
Mm-hmm.
She said you tried to push her into an electric fence.
It was the youngest birthday, so we went to the farm because he likes cows. And then we started walking. I got like a quarter of the way, and I sat down.
And
because
where were you?
It was like a trail on a farm.
Yeah.
And so I sat down because my legs hurt really bad. So Christine had Michael and the boys go up ahead of us. She sat down next to me and was like, Natalia, you need to get up. So she got up and she was helping me, trying to help me get up, but I fell again and she fell with me. And the electric fence wasn't that far from us.
So you guys fell and she said you
Yes.
tried to push her in the
Yeah,
electric
it wasn't
fence.
that far.
It's terrible that they're trying to make her out to be this monster.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
So here's what I think you should be looking for in this one. Her first denial about standing at the foot of the bed, there's a little confusion showing. This is the behavior of somebody accused of something they had no idea about. Think about this. If you're accused of something that you had no idea, it was just coming out of left field. But the mistake here is forgetting that people only do this when they hear it the first time. She's heard this for years. So she makes another soft denial and then starts this crying thing. And when you watch this again, pay attention to her eyes. Here's what happens when she starts the crying thing. This is just my opinion. I'm open to being having my mind changed, as Mark says. She makes 100% solid, unflinching eye contact with her target. I mean, Dr. Phil. There's no expression of sadness on her face at all. She doesn't blink, doesn't hold her eyes closed. Her chin boss movement is not genuine. The entire chin moves instead. Right before she does the sadness thing, there's pure anger on her face. Her entire lower jaw comes forward, unnaturally forward. You're seeing a total lack of emotional affect, deliberate, calculated use of feigned sadness, in my opinion, to control the environment around her. Just going back to what Greg says, doesn't mean she hasn't been traumatized. It doesn't mean this is a result of the organism not doing something that made it successful in the past. Her denial of Dr. Phil's bait question, which was fabulous, or a mind virus question, is different than all the others. It was really soft. And she was comfortable denying things that were impossible to prove. That's the reason, I think. And if she tried to push this woman into the electric fence, I don't remember her name, you're seeing, if that's true, then you're seeing criminal impulsivity, an inability to control those impulses, and a severely low ability to predict potential consequences. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, with his bait question, he did that really well because the first time he brings it up, she doesn't even answer, doesn't even react to it. She goes on talking about something else. Usually in what we're talking about, we say bait question. The person that is suspected of doing something, you'll say, so-and-so, Mark, is there any reason whatsoever that your blood or your DNA, could be hair, spit from coffin, whatever, be in the room where that body was, be any reason whatsoever? Quite often, the person who was in, and they've said they weren't in the room at all, had nothing, they shouldn't be in the room at all before that. And you ask them that question, here's what happens most of the time. It's not every time, and you can't count on it every time. However, if you say, when you ask that question and they say, shouldn't be, I can't think of a reason why, shouldn't be, they're getting real quiet on you, not that big a deal, they should be fairly worried. So I would put them in my little pile over here of people who are still, I would still suspect them. But if they said, no, there's not going to be any DNA there of mine, no spit, no nothing. You know why? Because I wasn't in there. That's why. No, there won't be anything of mine in there. I'll tell you that much. They get loud and they'll come forward and they'll come at you with that. She's not doing that. She gets a little bit quiet right in there. So that makes me think something's up with this. So I want to put that in my little pile of stuff over here with, we might be dealing with a con. If I was looking for a con and wondering if she was or not, I would definitely just that one part where and you're right, Chase, he does that really well. He did that really well and notice his tone in this whole time, it's been really soft. And so I don't think at any time does he kick into the hard stuff, but he's keeping it fairly light on this, but he's still asking the good questions. Greg, what do you got?
You can call that soft, but what he just does is up the pressure. And remember, you heard me say a million times, the first thing I learned about body language was how to stop someone from crying if they're not being truthful. And that was to up the pressure and watch it dry up. Watch this happen. Elegantly, he asked this fake question. She's already gone into this fake cry, and then boom, it just dries up. So as we watch this, my guess is that when this person's threatened, forget whether she's 22 or 65 or 9, her tool is lash out. And that lash out, who knows what form it takes. Kids who moved around, they learn from lots of people. But here, she's not even showing as much concern as she did in the last one when she's asked about the knife at the foot of the bed. There's a nervous laugh, always a red flag. Why? That's a weird response to being accused of holding a knife at the foot of somebody's bed. That's a red flag. We would ask questions. And then there's a whole lot of stuff going across her face. Chase, I think you talked about anger. There's anger, there's frustration, there's disapproval. And then that cry starts. Her chin in the beginning, though, is down. This is the first time we see her chin down. Remember, her head naturally is in a different position. So we associate that with shame or denial. If they're trying to hide something, they'll do that too. But so then he asks this bait question. When she responds to the bait question, Scott, I'm surprised you didn't say it. Fading facts. No. She sounded like Candace Bly on Dr. Phil saying no when we had that question, if you remember. This makes me suspicious about her being 100% truthful. Now, look, if she's 8 and she did something before that was foolish, she may feel shame for that now. If she's 16 and she did something foolish, she may feel shame for it now. People grow, people change. But there are red flags all over this one that, yeah, she probably did something, whether it's this exact thing or akin to this, something. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, this is so interesting because it's about what is normal behavior and abnormal behavior and what age is this person and what is abnormal or normal for this person and what story does she think she should be telling for normal and abnormal. So did you ever make plans to stab them? And we do hear stress in the voice at that point. And you might go, well, it would be very abnormal to make plans to stab your parents. You'd be wrong, because a normal part of growing up is to idealize in some way the demise of your parents in some way. I'm not saying it's a stabbing. And if you don't do it in your own imagination, you sublimate it into a book. That's why children's stories often don't have the parents there. It's a sublimation. It's so you can imagine how you survive without those parents there, without that control mechanism. Now, you've got somebody here, no matter what age they are, you've got somebody here who's been pushed from pillar to post. Do you think there might be some anger there somewhere? I'm going to think probably. Do you think, well, no matter what age this person is, if they've got small legs and they're taken on a country walk and they get tired, that they might get angry and lash out? Well, yeah, I think they probably would. I, as a kid, would do that. I, as an adult, might do that if I'm not able to moderate myself at that time. Well, maybe it is the bait question that moderates her, or maybe it's her own ability to moderate that cry. The crying is terrible, by the way. Nobody believes that's real crying. She's putting it on to try and get an effect to see what she can get out of it. She's able to close it down very, very quickly. I think if it was a real cry, she'd be able to close it down very, very quickly, because if you've grown up in institutions, you learn how to moderate really fast. You also learn how to let loose really fast to make sure that everybody knows what power you have. She says about the electric fence, it wasn't very far. So it was far, but not very far. Okay. It's very different from saying, well, it was close. It was close. So obviously we tumbled into that. No, it wasn't very far. Okay. There's clearly some unmoderated aggression going on here. Could be from a 33-year-old, could be from a young teenager, but that is not abnormal. Just because you got little legs, okay, and you get upset on a country walk because your sibling, who maybe gets more attention, maybe not, wants to go and see cows, and you have to be dragged on this walk, and we've all been dragged on those walks going, why do I have to come along with that? Well, she may well get more aggressive than others, and that doesn't fit the story very well that she's trying to tell. So yeah, look, could be a 33-year-old psychopathic dwarf. I mean, it could be, from Eastern Europe. I mean, yeah, possibly it's that. At the same time, those behaviors, even the ideation of harm to the parents, the death of the parents, and being part of that, the ideation of that is by no means abnormal. You may well have done it yourself. And if you're telling me you haven't done it, for a second, I would go, yeah, maybe you're not the normal one around here if you haven't had that ideation, because we know clinically that ideation shows up. Well, you love those books where the parents aren't there anymore, and all the greatest children's books have those. So that's what I got on that one. Have we all been?
But you know what? There's one more place we've seen that where there's heavy crying and emotion and then snapping out of it, just being normal and being something else. Anybody remember where? Amber Heard.
Yeah.
She'd be all upset. And she's like, well, she'd be like, I just think so.
Yeah.
So she'd be like, but you know what we should do?
Well, if I'd been pushed from pillar to post and never had a parent, one thing that I might easily get diagnosed with is borderline personality disorder.
For sure. It's on my list of things here because look, if a person has had to adapt to every different person, I think about Chase, the first time you joined the military and your first duty assignment, you remember how much adapting you had to do to personalities around you, chief, coworkers. And so you have to compress your personality and learn until you get there and figure out how you work with those people. Imagine if you're a child without those coping skills. Now, forget whether she's now 16 or 18 or 36 or 94. If you've been in that system.
One of those tape replays.
Did you ever stand at the foot of their bed, around their bed, in their room, watch them sleep with a knife in your hand?
No, never.
Did you ever want to stab them?
No.
Did you ever make plans to stab them?
No. If I ever went in the room, it was to wake them up because I was either scared of a nightmare or something like that. But I never went in their room. I didn't.
But is there any reason that they would have like nanny cam footage, hidden camera footage of you standing at the end of the bed with a knife in your hand?
No.
If they had it, they would have produced it, right?
Mm-hmm.
She said you tried to push her into an electric fence.
It was the youngest birthday, so we went to the farm because he likes cows. And then we started walking. I got like quarter of the way and I sat down.
And
because
where were you?
It was like a trail on a farm.
Yeah.
And so I sat down because my legs hurt really bad. So Christine had Michael and the boys go up ahead of us. She sat down next to me and was like, Natalia, you need to get up. So she got up and she was helping me, trying to help me get up, but I fell again and she fell with me. And the electric fence wasn't that far from us.
So you guys fell and she said you
Yes.
tried to push her in the
Yeah,
electric
it wasn't that far.
It's terrible that they're trying to make her out to be this monster.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.